Hello, and welcome to the Kingston Grammar School podcast. With the school motto of work well and be happy ever present in all aspects of the curriculum and co-curriculum, Kingston Grammar School is one of the most successful co-educational schools in the UK. I'm your host, Shannon Delwish, and regardless of how you came to find us, I hope you learn a bit about Kingston Grammar School while you're here. And I know that as one of our listeners, you will quickly start to feel more a part of the inclusive KGS community. We're pleased to welcome you. This episode kicks off our Sport at KGS series, and we'll be speaking with Headmaster Stephen Lehec and Director of Sport Andy Watts. But first, let's hear from a couple of current KGS athletes who began rowing and never looked back.
I'm Matilda, I'm in lower sixth and I'm studying English, History, Art and Maths. I am a rower. Our first regatta was the national event last year. We never raced before, but we won the time trial in fifth year. We continue to build upon that result, coming second at Henley Women's, the first time a KGS crew has got to the final since 2004, and then winning the British Rowing Junior Championships at the end of the season. I'm also looking at universities after being contacted by them as a result of rowing. Just last weekend I was out in America visiting Yale University and also planning on visiting Duke and Stanford, which is really exciting. I'm very proud to be a KGS student and a KGS athlete.
I'm Lola, I'm in lower sixth and I'm studying biology, maths and physics. We started rowing in third year. I really enjoyed being on the water and racing, and I thought, you know what, this could be something I could become quite passionate about. We've gone to Henley Women's where we came second, which was just unheard of for us. We didn't expect to even get that far. In Brit Champs we came first, which was another really big success for us. During exam time, the coaches and all the sports staff are really supportive. They understand academics versus sports is a really important thing to have balance, especially if you're going on to do it at a high level in university. They are always out there and they're always really helpful.
It has been said that the UK's independent schools lead the world in showing how physical activity can be harnessed for its educational worth and personal development values. Add to that the necessity of physical activity when it comes to mental health, and there is no doubt that sport in schools holds a very important place. The value placed on sport has been present throughout KGS history, but the quality of the athletes to come out of KGS is also a source of pride. In a survey of the number of sporting internationals to have come from independent schools since the year 2000, Kingston Grammar School actually ranked 5th and 3rd for Olympians of both genders, which is quite an achievement for a school of this size. It gives me great pleasure to welcome into our podcast studio today Headmaster Stephen Lehec and Director of Sport Andy Watts. Hello, Andy. Hello, Headmaster.
Hello. Lovely to be with you again.
Lovely to see you both. Andy, so nice to meet you. I know that you're one of the more recent joiners of KGS. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be at KGS and what were you getting up to before KGS times?
Yeah, so I'm in my third term at KGS now, having started just in September. So I was previously at Magdalen College School in Oxford for 11 years, the last 6 years of those as Director of Sport. And then prior to that worked down at Marlborough College in Wiltshire. So I've had a good spread of experiences of schools, and then hopefully be able to bring a lot of my own sort of sporting experience and expertise to the role here at KGS.
And what's your sporting background?
Hockey's my main sport, so I played a lot of my career at Reading, and then played in the junior international age groups, and then more recently for Oxford Hawks and then for Wimbledon. And still playing now, although maybe not quite at the level that I was previously, but yeah, still enjoying it.
Hard to keep that up, I guess.
Yeah, can be.
When you're not doing it full time. And is there anything that students would be surprised to know about you?
I love a quiz. I actually appeared on Channel 5's Brain Teaser when I was at university, so
that is exciting.
A hidden fact that is somewhere out there on YouTube.
I didn't know
sure.
that. Well, I'm going to start looking that up.
Yeah.
Is that available for download?
I'm not sure it is anymore, unfortunately. So don't look too hard.
I just want to talk a bit about the recent developments in the KGS sport program.
obviously the history of KGS sport is something that we're, all of us in this room are very, very aware of, and it's something I'm keen to continue and build on. And I think that the coaching is one of our real strengths here at the school, and it's something that certainly can continue to grow and continue to develop and improve. Within hockey, we've got an extremely strong coaching staff, and looking to build on that ahead of next season. But there's also been great developments within cricket and rowing particularly, and some of the staffing there, which I feel is an important part of the school sports program as well. So I think that making sure that in the very competitive kind of independent school world now that our coaching provision is as good as it can be, and that links with lots of the local clubs as well, because I think that no school can do it on its own, and I feel that we can do the very best we can by our pupils, but I think having the club links as well is really important. So having lots of key members of staff involved in local clubs is a really important part of our strategy here as well.
It takes a village, doesn't it, to raise an athlete?
Yeah, exactly, because we have our timetable, we have our fixture list, but lots of the pupils are aspirational to play on pathways and really push themselves outside of school competitions as well. So having the club competitions, performance centres, NAGS groups as well, which is a really important part of their development.
Last year was still a bit stop-start, wasn't it? And now you can return to competitions and fixtures and proper training. So what does that entail?
I think it's meant a very busy first year actually, and it's been great getting back into full fixture lists and full competitions. Mr. Lavery, the head of cricket, he's been here 3 years and hasn't had a full cricket season yet.
Wow! So
this will be his first chance to get back into competitive fixtures there. But I think that it's been brilliant since September. We've been able to have spectators back. We've been able to welcome a range of different schools, international competitions, particularly those that include indoor facilities as well. Well, for me, the timing's been great because I could join KGS at a point where we're able to get back into a full fixture program, and it's I'm lucky to have come when the restrictions have been loosened slightly, and we're able to get back into maybe life as it was before.
I just think this year has been amazing for that level of appreciation that comes on top of all the success. It's been great getting back to competing against other schools and having parents there and having that interaction.
Well, I know that, Andy, that's really important to you, isn't it? Parents supporting their student athletes.
I've actually been amazed in the level of parental support that there is here at KGS. I think it's fantastic how many parents there are watching, and I think that parents have also valued coming back to fixtures as much as the pupils.
Oh, that's nice.
And I wrote something recently for the website that I think sport will provide lots of the fondest memories of pupils at the school. So it's not just whether you win a certain match or not. I think it's lots of the camaraderie that comes with it. I think it's the bus journeys. I think it's those memories that you do cherish, and I think that we all are very appreciative to get back to that.
Yeah.
But I think that the level of the sport will be different. But I think that actually the experience of match tees, opposition of number of fixtures, facilities they're playing, and I think that's really important for everybody, because every pupil that comes to KGS has that opportunity, and it's something we'll look to work on.
We all know people that grew up in schools where actually your worst enemy was the PE teacher.
Right.
And it just wasn't that rich experience that it should have been. We don't get people saying, well, sport's no longer for me because I'm embarrassed to get changed or to wear the kit or to participate or to compete or to not be good enough. Right. So that particular drop-off, is evident across the country and probably across the world in girls' sport, and we don't have that. Right. That we maintain a high level of participation. It's brilliant.
That's true. We had an athletics club session last night actually, and we had nearly 40 pupils there, which, bearing in mind that was the first day back at school. So it's they're as enthusiastic for it as we are. So it's brilliant to feed off their enthusiasm.
I think there is an increasing realization about the impact your physical health can have on your mental health, but that's probably in the last 4 or 5 years. Right. I think it's one of the reasons as well that we knew that Andy would be a great fit for KGS because he had the experience of director of sport at another school, a relatively like-minded school. Mm-hmm. But when he interviewed with us, all of his thoughts, his ideas just absolutely clicked in terms of where we were, but also where we wanted to be. So the next few years are going to be, incredibly exciting.
You've got 850 pupils at the school, and all of them should be involved in physical activity, and therefore you need your participation numbers to be as high as you can be. So it's just that balance of making sure that it makes for quite a big program, but it means that you've got to have opportunities for everybody to be involved wherever they can be. And I think that is linked to mental health.
That makes sense. So we've kind of touched on everybody's welcome, come have a go. What about the parents who might have financial limitations?
Yeah, so that links obviously to our scholarship program, and that's something that I've been keen to develop a good understanding of in my first year here. And we had a number of sports scholars who then have gone on to, even this year, are representing junior international teams,
right.
Great Britain trialists as well within rowing. Our department is massively experienced, and I think that we need to draw on all those different areas. We've got Olympians, we've got former internationals. We've also got a balance of people who've been through KGS as students as well. Mm-hmm. So I think we've got a really good experience, and within our coaching team and our department is what seems to actually get bigger and bigger by the term, but it's
just don't tell the bursar.
No, we need more office space, but he's just upstairs.
Yeah.
But it's really building on that, and I think that we're able to offer fantastic provision, and I think that having the co-ed element to it as well is great, because particularly in the younger years, where I've took the under 12s for hockey this year,
right,
and they love, that was the boys team, and they love playing against the girls. Can we play the girls this session, sir? Like, not yet, because actually the girls beat them in the first session this term.
Brilliant.
And then we got our own back later in the year, but it's good having that. It's just a healthy environment alongside, the boys and girls alongside each other.
I think one of the important things is with scholarships and with sport in general is everybody's welcome to try, but also you're also very welcome and encouraged to persist. Keep coming, keep playing, because you will get a chance to play, you will get a chance to compete. But the same applies to, you might apply for a scholarship and you might not be successful when you arrive at the school, but we're quite unique in that we will review our scholarships annually. If you're somebody that maybe missed out, maybe we just didn't see that talent or that ability, or maybe you're a late developer, we will add people to the scholarship program as you go through the school. But actually we have a huge bursary program as well. So for a lot of students who say, well, I can only really progress, in my academic sporting field if I get that kind of full or slightly larger fee remission, then there's a lot of financial assistance to support parents anyway. So it's not just about whether you gain the scholarship. There's also a lot of support for people to have the fuller financial assistance to be able to access a school like KGS.
It's extremely helpful for someone in my role that we can review so frequently. So when we did the scholarship assessment in January, I actually made it a slight joke to parents in that when do you assess a child for a scholarship? If you do it at 16 plus, it's almost too late. If you do it at, say, 13 or 13 plus, you have some that will be maybe 4'8" and some that will be 6'2".
Right.
And actually we do ours at 11 initially, which is where we had our assessment in January. But being able to review it year on year, if there is a child that maybe hasn't had as much experience but joins the school and then excels within one of those areas, we're able to support them. So it is really helpful as a director of sport having that flexibility as we move through the school.
Yeah, that's really important. It's actually surprising that it's not more universal, because I can see how it'd be such a difference from 11 to 17, 18.
And also certain sports as well. I mean, we don't row until the third year.
Right.
So actually, if you're coming in for an assessment as 11 plus, you haven't even thought about rowing yet, but you may go on to be a GB trialist.
And what does the program look like, Andy? Because I know for a lot of people they'll be thinking, so do I just get to play more hockey or more football or get extra kind of one-on-one coaching?
And I think that playing more is actually slightly dangerous, and I think that's part of what we can offer through our scholarship program is mentoring, and with that, time management. Lots of sports now almost operate at 12 months of the year program. So students will have demands on their time to be fulfilling cricket sessions in October and November, which is actually, that does take some doing when you're trying to fit that in a busy timetable, also another couple of sports programs as well. So mentoring is something that we offer to every one of our sports scholars, and we have a balance of matching that up with somebody who has experience within that sport, as well as sometimes possibly a different voice as well. If that person is your coach and also plays the same sport, it sometimes is nice to have somebody from a different experience as well. So we do look to try and get the balance there. Linked to that, I suppose one of the other things we're very, very fortunate to offer is we have a head of athletic development at the school who is able to oversee the strength and conditioning and able to offer extra sessions to all our scholars. We have also supplemented that with, it's not just the scholars group, it's some of the more promising and those that show potential as well. So it's not just limited to the scholars, but that's certainly something that the scholars do have access to, is a weekly session there. So they work in small groups. We monitor them in terms of their height, their growth.
Wow.
And then I think that those would be the two main areas that set us apart. And then I think that the high quality coaching we've mentioned, the facilities are outstanding. And I think that as a scholar at KGS, you do get to be part of a very well-rounded program rather than just coming in to be a sport-specific scholar.
It's great opportunities.
And I like some of the occasions too when you get, visiting speakers in. Tom Daly has come to talk about his experience of trying to be a student athlete.
Right.
As much of his early career as an international diver was spent while he was doing his A-levels or even
right. I guess it would have been
and going through
right.
some quite difficult personal circumstances as well. With
sure.
But also having some fun with nutrition. What actually makes a good smoothie. Not
what does.
Well, not lots of peanut butter, I can tell you that.
Oh, but that's unfortunate.
Your kales and your fruits, and
not too much wheatgrass powder either.
Yeah, not too much protein powder. Depending,
right.
You can have protein powder, but not
too chalky.
Much.
So we've been talking a lot about the strong hockey and rowing programs at KGS, and I think everybody's aware of the high standards of those programs. And I know we've touched a bit on cricket, but Andy, what other sports programs are on offer at KGS?
An exciting thing for me in this role is really evolving those other sports. It's not just about hockey and rowing. I think that the cricket coaching is going to be first class over the next few years.
Right.
And it'll be really interesting for me to see that evolve, and that's part of a good project that I'm looking forward to working on. Football had great success this year. We reached the last 16 with the under-12s and under-15s, which is, I know that's something
great.
Mr. Hall's very, very proud of on the girls' side of the programme. And then also netball as well. We've obviously got our netball courts on site here and some pretty stunning courts down at Ditton Field that we can play. Excellent. And then as they move through the school, there's a real opportunity in the senior games programme to try different sports. So squash, real tennis, cycling is an area that has become more of an Olympic sport. A few students have interest in that. Water sports as well is another area. There's a real range of activities that it's, some sports I've not even tried, and I'm a real sports nut. So I'd like to get out and visit some of those. So I think that it's the balance of keeping people involved in team sports wherever possible in the younger years, but then giving them the opportunity to try new sports as they move through the school.
Great.
Yes, loads of stuff on the water, sailing, paddle boarding possibly is for the future. Big question over esports. Is esports a sport or not? But we won't go into that debate right now. But there are lots of things on offer. And I mentioned earlier on, people say, do you do rugby? And no, we don't. It's historical. We don't have the pitches for it, but also we don't necessarily have the student numbers. But they say, so you don't play football? Yes, we do absolutely play football. So is that boys' football? No, there's boys' football and girls' football. And of course, they play socially together as well.
Right.
Or is it boys' cricket? No, it's boys' cricket and girls' cricket. But there are a number of students who would play multiple sports. And people say, well, what about specialising? Well, we don't really encourage any form of specialisation until, probably 16 would be our optimum. But some people begin to specialise around 14. Right. And we've referenced the range of facilities. So we have some on site, and people look at KGS, London Road, centre of Kingston. Okay, you have this area that's kind of a netball area. Yes, you've got the Fairfield Park outside, and yes, we have that. But if you get down to Ditton Field, or if you look at a video of it, or Google map it, 22 acres, it's beautiful. The number of cricket pitches, football pitches, hockey pitches, tennis courts, netball courts, the boathouse adjoins it on the river. It's opposite Hampton Court, and it's my favourite bit of the year. You'll be playing a fixture there against a school, and it might be an Eton or a Winchester College or a Marlborough, it might be. And they look across the river at Hampton Court and say, your school looks really posh. Nice. Well, that gold leaf. And I say, I know, it's stunning. We're so lucky.
We're so fortunate.
I know. We don't mention the fact we have to get a coach from Central Kingston, and that is Hampton Court Palace.
Details.
We don't mention those details. Absolutely. We just absorb it and say it's wonderful. But it is a beautiful venue.
Well, thank you both for sitting down and taking time. I know it's a busy time of year. It's always a busy time of year here at KGS. But it's been such a pleasure to meet you, Andy, and good luck with the year ahead. And nice to see you again, Headmaster.
Shannon, lovely to see you again.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kingston Grammar School podcast. Next week, we welcome England and GB hockey player Jack Waller, who speaks with fondness of his time at KGS and shares with us the many virtues of making work and play equally important disciplines. We would like to hear from you. Get in touch to tell us what you're enjoying about the podcast and join other listeners in suggesting topics which you'd like to learn more about. You can email us at podcast@kgs.org.uk. And there are endless platforms on which you can access this podcast. Spotify, Apple, Acast, Amazon, SoundCloud, or YouTube for starters. So please recommend this podcast to friends and family, as it is so easily accessible to any and everyone. And remind them it's free. Oh, and follow, download, or subscribe to the series, and do take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It takes but a moment, and it makes a huge difference to us because it makes us more visible for those who are searching for us. Special thanks to our guests in this episode, Andy Watts and Headmaster Stephen Lehec. Thank you also to Allison Williams, Director of Marketing and Admissions at Kingston Grammar School. This has been an Applied Reality production, produced by Shannon Vandermark, sound design by Alex Marcoux, with additional design, mixing, and editing by George Powell.